This is Bruce Bochy, and you're listening to the Ranger Report.
The Ranger Report. Yeah, the Ranger Report. If you want the inside scoop, listen to the Ranger Report. Oh, here we go.
This is the Ranger Report podcast. News, insights, predictions, interviews, and information about the World Series champion Texas Rangers, from the major leagues to the minor leagues. And now, here are your hosts, Ben Dieter, Tyler Nilson, and CJ Berryman.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Ranger Report podcast. I am Ben Dieter. That is Tyler Nielsen with me. CJ Berryman has the night off, so it's just the two of us holding down the fort tonight. Tyler, how's it going?
Good, Ben. How you been, brother?
Been good. We took a week off, about more like, how long did we take off? 14 days, something like that. We took a long time off. But anyway, We are back on the Comfort Air online studio. The Ranger source on the Fans First Sports Network, brought to you, of course, by Walton's Everything But the Meat, and presented by Dallas Sports Nation, who got me my credentials to the two games I got to cover this last week. The first time I've ever covered an entire homestand, Tyler, because it was a 2-game homestand.
Yeah, I thought that was really neat for you to go and watch them play against, a rematch of the World Series, and
yeah, I was looking.
You got to see them walk away with 2 W's, in that series. So
I did for sure. It was nice. It was a good series. We'll talk about that here in a minute. So anyway, hold on. Let me scratch my nose real quick.
I see something shiny. I think it's not on your nose. I think it's on your hand.
Oh, what's that?
Oh, what?
Yeah.
That's freaking awesome.
I ran into Corey Seager. He gave me his, so either that or I ordered one. I don't remember which one it was, but anyway, no, that's funny. I had to buy. I didn't make the giveaway, so I just went ahead and bought myself one online. So,
it's awesome, man.
Every Rangers fan has to have one of those. I think if you've been following as long as we have, you got to get a hold of one for yourself. So even if it's a cheap replica, so, but it's okay. I don't need to spend $100,000 to remember that the Rangers won the World Series. I'm good with $50. So,
yep.
Anyway, we got a lot to talk about. The Rangers went on a horrible losing streak while we weren't doing the show. So that tells me that we can't skip again, because the Rangers get sad when we don't do our show.
Yeah, it was one of those deals we talked about last time. I was not in the greatest mood. If you listeners out there, if I said this team was a bad team currently and the way they were playing. And Ben, thank you for going to the game and switching that look up, or the momentum over, because looks like things are finally starting to click. I know we'll get more into detail and let you talk about it from here.
Well, Corey Seager, is on fire, which we love to see. Even during the losing streak, he has a home run in he has 8 home runs in 8 games, I believe is what it is. There were 2 in one of those there, but 8 home runs in an 8-game stretch. And, tonight's still young. We're recording this on Friday night, and they're playing Miami at the moment. It's 4-2. But Seager hasn't hit a home run yet tonight. I say yet because he literally is on fire. But he's the Corey Seager that we saw in the playoff run last year, that we saw most of the season. He's back to himself. I think, the injury, not getting spring training, probably messed with Corey a little bit. And now it's just good to see him. And you said it off air to me, and Adolis Garcia both look like they're kind of back. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, you make a great point, especially with Seager. CJ had mentioned something, earlier in the year, and the first 10, 15 games, that was his spring training, and you could tell Seager's come back around. And all three of us, none of us were concerned about Seager. We had all said it on here previously, and his bat's coming around. And you mentioned Garcia, having him back in the lineup. Had the forearm issue, but me and you were laughing about it off the air, also talking about, his cannon of an arm. It's what he brings just to the game in period, not his bat, but his defense and stuff like that. So it's good to have both of those guys healthy, getting our lineup back and then working on the rotation next. So, yeah, it's looking good.
Yeah, the rotation, of course, we'll talk about Dane Dunning in a little bit. We'll talk about some other guys as well. And one thing I do want to mention on here before we get too deep into the show is congratulations to the Dallas Mavericks who are going to the NBA Finals.
Yes.
I did want to mention that. I'm a big Luka fan. I don't talk about the Mavericks much, obviously, because this is a Rangers podcast. But, hey, 2 Dallas teams in their championship series in the same or not the same calendar year, but within a year of each other. Pretty cool thing, Tyler.
Yeah, it's incredible what's going on in the DFW area right now. You have of course, the 2023 World Series champions in the Texas Rangers. You have the Dallas Mavericks now representing the West in the NBA Finals, and you have the Dallas Stars who are in the Western Conference Finals right now, and they're coming back home. I believe they play tonight. But it's good for the DFW. We won't talk about the Cowboys right now, but it's just good for the city. We kind of get spoiled. It's rare. We're in rare. It's a rare thing in the sports world to have 4 teams that are powerhouses at what they're doing in one single year, and that's basically what's going on. So I'm glad you mentioned the Mavericks. Surprised I didn't get fired today from my brother because that's basically all I talked about all day was the Mavericks, and actually went way past my curfew last night. Went to bed about 10:30, which is late for me now.
That's because of the game, yeah.
That's because of the game. I actually watched the entire game. So anyways, back to the Rangers. It's good to see for the DFW area.
Yeah, so Corey Seager, I'm trying to find my tweet here. He joins a list of people who have hit 8 or more home runs in 8 or more games. So he joins a list of other Rangers that have done it. And actually, he also joins a list of other shortstops. But the other Rangers were Joey Gallo in 2021. Josh Hamilton did it 5 different times in 2012.
That does not surprise me.
That's amazing. That year for him was just incredible.
Right.
Rafael Palmeiro did it in 1999, and Jose Canseco did it in 1994. So he joins a list of people that have done that before. Those are the Rangers. And then, of course, shortstops who have done that before include Trey Turner in 2023, Gleyber Torres in 2019, Troy Tulowitzki in 2010, and Leo Cardenas in 1966. So those are the only 5 shortstops to ever have at least 8 home runs in 8 games. So
that's an incredible list to join if you really think about it, and especially at the shortstop position, all the players that have played that position. I mean, you look in the earlier days as A-Rod. He started off at shortstop and then moved his way over to third. But you had Derek Jeter. These guys, and Derek Jeter really wasn't known for his pop, but still, I mean, there's a slew of players that have played the game, and to join a short list like that just shows you the accomplishment that he's garnering right now. And I mean, who's to say it's not 9 after tonight? Like you said, It's early in the game. I think they might be in the 5th or 6th inning, but that's incredible. That's a great stat. Those are great stats that you threw out there, Ben.
Tell you what, it's fun to be at the game because you get all kind of cool stuff in the press box. They give you all kind of stats like that. So I'm just sitting there writing down the names he's saying so I can tweet it out later. Also, day off for Marcus Semien was weird. I think it's his first day off since 1749, I think. No, I'm just kidding. But
it seems like it.
The streak was broken. His last day off was in 2022. So it was 300, and I'm trying to find it. I think it was 349 days, something like that.
Yeah, 348 or 349. That's correct.
Yeah, started 349 consecutive regular season games for the Rangers. That doesn't include the postseason last year. So 349 consecutive regular season games and it had to do with that collision with Adolis.
With Garcia.
His neck and back were a little sore, and they finally decided if they did that, he'd get 2 days off because of the off day yesterday. So anyway, he's playing tonight. I don't know how he's looked yet. I'm going to watch the game as soon as we get off here, but seems like, I mean, and we did ask Bochy in the post game how much Marcus argued that. And Bochy said, not as much as you think. He actually decided he wanted the day. So, we figured Marcus was arguing the whole way about getting in the game.
Yeah, it's tough to pull a guy like that off the field. I kind of read an article about it too the day it was announced, said the Iron Man, because he had the long streak, of course.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even close. But, I think it was a mutual decision. I think Semien knew his body. I think he had 1 hit in the previous, 8 or 9. I mean, he wasn't Marcus Semien. And they sat down and he said it really wasn't a tough decision. He said Semien agreed. And it kind of goes back to what you were talking about, with the shortstops. You throw out all these stats, but think about, Cal Ripken Jr. when he played the game. You look at playing 349 games. Look how many games Cal Ripken played at that, doing it consecutively. I mean, the game has changed. I mean, it's way different than what it was when Cal Ripken was playing, but still 349 games. I mean, hats off to you, Marcus Semien. And hopefully that 1 day of rest. And a lot of people are thinking, what does 1 day of rest do for your body?
Oh, it does a lot.
Trust me, when you play 162 games, them guys 1 day they'll take as much time as they can, but hopefully we'll start seeing that changeover. Hopefully he'll get hot like Corey Seager.
Yep, exactly. So anyway, and also we'll talk a little bit about that series I went to. We got to see Wyatt Langford return. Had a bad first game, not a bad first game, just he didn't get any hits, and then a great day game the next day. But then, of course, I got to see Nathan Eovaldi's first start back. He went 3 innings, did a pretty darn good job out there. Gotten himself into a little trouble. It seemed to get out of it. Was a good game for him. Of course, he gave up the 2-run homer to give him the 2-0 lead, and then the Rangers came back and won that game. But I thought he looked pretty good overall for his first start back, Tyler.
Yeah, he did. It was kind of me and you were talking off air, and you said there was some report, they were asking questions, why did Heaney not start the game? But when you have a guy like Nathan Eovaldi, and he's a healthy, regardless of it's 2 or 3 innings, you're going to throw him you're going to put him into the game right away. So it was good to see him get his feet wet again and get back out there and gain a little bit of momentum. We don't need him as much now as what we're going to need him towards the end of the season. So 3 innings, great job by Eovaldi. Wyatt Langford, on the other hand, I think that was probably a blessing in disguise if you really think about it, the injury to Langford. It's kind of, he had to sit there and hit the reset button is what he said, basically. He got to go back down and find out what was going on and tinker with a bunch of different things and got his mind right. And, it's only been 2-3 games since he's returned, but still, You're going to sit there and see a lot of different improvements from what we saw. And you got to realize, people out there listening to this kid, he's a kid. He's a rookie. So this is not going to happen. He's not going to be a 1-year sensation type of guy. This is going to take time, and Wyatt Langford's going to be just fine.
Yeah, I agree with you. And of course, Evan Carter went on the injured list when Wyatt Langford came off. He's having back issues. Evan Carter is in his own head really bad. He's in a bad funk. He's not playing. He's taking strikes right down the middle for strike 3, which is something he would not do, last year in the minors. So once he gets over his back injury, or his back tightness, as they called it, he'll get some bats in the minor leagues. I think he'll get himself back on his feet, because I think that dude is a major league talent. But you've even seen veterans get in their head so bad that they have like an 0 for 20, 0 for 30, 1 for 35. And that's where Carter is right now. It's his first actual time to struggle, which is probably good for him to get through this time.
Right. And you hit it on the head with that. That's a great point. They said today it was called a lumbar strain is what they're diagnosing the injury as. But it's one of those deals. If you think about it with Evan Carter, he's had everything that you could play for really his first year. He had all that last year. He won a championship. He was the talk of baseball really going into the postseason, because, they didn't know who this kid was, and all of a sudden he made a name for himself. And then he comes into the season this year, and everybody had all these high expectations for him and expecting him to do the exact same thing that he did coming off of last year. Well, you got to realize, people, this guy and these pitchers especially know how to throw to Evan Carter now. They're making the adjustments needed. And Evan Carter's hit a stretch right now where it's mental. You could tell it's very mental. And I think hitting the reset button, just like Wyatt Langford, this injury, I think, is a good thing for Evan Carter. And I don't say that a lot with injuries. I don't think injuries, are a good thing, but I think in this case, it is a good thing for him to get back to the basics.
All right, the Rangers are sitting right now 3 games behind Seattle. The Rangers are 27-29 going into tonight. Seattle's 31-27. Seattle did fire their bench coach / offensive coordinator today. I don't know if you saw that. The Mariners
I did not.
Because they are the only team that's worse offensively this year is the Chicago White Sox, who are, sitting at 15-42 right now. So Seattle is not hitting the ball well. So they've moved on from their offensive coordinator hitting coach to try to improve that. But of course, the Rangers are on a 3-game winning streak. They're trying to get back to 500. Houston is 5.5 games, 2.5 games behind the Rangers right now. So we're going to see how that works out. But anyway, the Rangers go into Miami, and I worry about series like these, Tyler, because when they went into Colorado, they got swept out of there. For some reason, they seem to play down to the level of who they're playing.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that. I said, these are the series, just like you said, Colorado. This next 9-game stretch, I was reading an article, I think it was by Jeff Wilson, got his newsletter, and was reading, this next 9 stretch is big for the Rangers. You have, you're facing a struggle. The second worst team in baseball in Miami. Then you have Detroit at home. And then you have, who's the third? Who am I missing, Ben?
The Giants.
The Giants. And the Giants are hovering right around 500. And this is a time to pounce on it, because then you go on the road to play the Dodgers and Seattle. And then, that stretch. And then I think they go and play the Mets, and the Mets, have changed it from last year. That ball club's turned around. So these next 9 games, they can't play 500. They can't be satisfied. They've got to win these games that are supposed to be won.
Yep.
So, I don't know. We'll see.
You're facing a team that's 20-37. You've got to at least take 2 out of 3 from that team.
Yeah, you got to win the series. Absolutely.
You can't be swept by them. I mean, I'm okay. Every MLB team can win every game. So I'm okay with, the Rangers dropping one of them, but they've got to take 2 or 3 out of here. Miami's pitching is not good. Their bullpen is awful. The Rangers bullpen, that's another thing we need to talk about, has been much better than the last week or so. They've been much better than they were. Everyone seems to be doing their part again. Even Leclerc and Hernandez came in and did a pretty good job the other night.
Yeah, and it's the weirdest thing. It's with the Rangers, I say this year in and year out, with this team, these teams, it seems like when one pitcher does good, the next guy feeds off it.
Yeah. And
you don't have it consistent. You don't have like one guy pitching really good and the rest of the bullpens are just gone to complete shit. And right now, everybody in the bullpen looks really good. For the most part, everybody's pitching really good. But then you hit that moment where somebody pitches bad and it seems like the whole – you do not want to go to the bullpen because everybody's going to have a bad outing, other than probably Robertson or Yates. Yeah. So, and Robertson even had one bad outing during that stretch. Right. So, yeah. Well, the bullpen is not holding up tonight. So anyway, just give up, exactly. Just gave up a 3-run homer. So, did we in the 7th? Yeah. Anyway, that happens. Another guy I wanted to talk about that I saw was Dane Dunning, who had a pretty dang good 5 innings for his first time back off the injured list. Looked very good in person. Talked to us after the game, said he felt good through 4, came out for the 5th, and he said it caught up with him, the sinus infection. He said he felt terrible that 5th inning, and he told Bochy he didn't think he could go back out for the 6th inning. Right. He was wiped out. So anyway, but overall, Tyler, I think Dunning did a pretty good job for his first outing back. Yeah, absolutely. You come back on your first start. That was his second back, but he had the sinus infection, so he missed one of his starts. Right. Went 5 innings, like you said. I think he had 6 strikeouts. The command was there, which was, which is good. But with Dane Dunning, I'm never concerned about Dane Dunning, to be honest with you, Ben. It seems like every time that guy steps on the mound, even with a bad outing, he's just always in command. It seems like, if he's missing the zone, it's not by much. He's not a wild pitcher by any means. He throws strikes. He gets his players off the field. And, those are the 2 guys, Eovaldi and Dunning, that this team has to have in order to have the postseason success. Yeah. Everybody talks about, I can't wait until DeGrom comes back or Scherzer and all this stuff. We talk about it even here on the podcast, but the leading edge, the guys that run this ship, if you really think about it, are Eovaldi and Dane Dunning. Yeah. They're the ones that control that pitching rotation. And I think it's just, added insurance once you get these guys back and healthy. But yes, Dane Dunning looked very, very good, and hopefully can continue it. We're a third into the season, and hopefully he stays healthy the remainder of the season. Yeah, I hope so too. All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll look ahead to who the Rangers are playing, what we have coming back, and maybe some updates on guys that are injured and when they're going to come back. And then we'll also talk a little, since we didn't do our minor league podcast, we have one pitcher we want to talk about from the minor league. So we'll do all that right here on the Ranger Report podcast. Welcome back to the Ranger Report podcast on the Fans First Sports Network, and of course on the Comfort Air online studio. So anyway, continuing our discussion, let's look ahead. We wanted to talk a little bit about a guy that's really stepped it up, taken over in the rotation for the 398 starting pitchers the Rangers have injured, and that's Jose Urena, who actually, and tonight, if you're listening on Friday night, May the 31st, he gave up 4 runs, but overall, I think he's been better than expected in that rotation, Tyler. Oh, yeah. It's been a great pickup by the Rangers. You look at, nobody saw this coming with the Rangers coming into the season with all these injuries that we've been dealt with. And having a guy like Urena, he's pitched, he's had success in this league, and he's came in and, it kind of seems to me, I might be wrong about the guy. I've not heard a lot of things about the locker room, talking all that stuff. But to me, he seems like he just goes out there and just does his job. He seems real quiet, has a real calm demeanor about him. And, he's performed well. I know tonight the game didn't look good early. Gave 4 quick runs, but you're going to have bad outings and stuff like that. But his ERA coming into tonight's game was, I think, 3.54. I mean, you can't ask for a guy, basically that you pick up off the streets.
Well, and he had some bad luck tonight too. He only 2 of his runs were earned. 2 of them are unearned.
Well, there you go. And what did he go? 5 innings? Was that the final on the box?
He only went 2.1 innings.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So another guy I wanted to talk about who came in his place, Jonathan Hernandez, pitched 3.2 innings and gave up no runs. So go Jonathan Hernandez.
That's a guy me and CJ have talked about, in the past. And Ben, I've always been high on Hernandez. I've always said this guy has it. There's something about Jonathan Hernandez, kind of like the way I guess CJ talks about Tavares. CJ's seen it up hand. I really haven't seen it in person. Yeah. But Jonathan Hernandez, when he gets that dialed in, that guy, he's unhittable at points. And it's good to see that. But he's one of those guys also with good come the bad. And once he gets bad, it's ugly bad. It's not one of those things.
He fails epically. He doesn't fail a little.
Exactly.
Same thing with Jose Leclerc. When he fails epically. He's either unhittable or, he walks everyone under the sun. So he's one or the other. And
me and CJ go back and forth on that. CJ, which is, there's nothing wrong with it. CJ, don't give up on this guy and stuff like that. And,
yeah.
Well, I'm a big fan of Leclerc. I get tired of the stuff that, when he comes into the games.
I still think Hernandez's days are numbered when the Rangers get a lot of players back, just because he's so bipolar. Unless he can continue again tonight, 3.2 innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, and not allowing any runs. That's pretty decent. But
what are you going to get out of him the next day? That's the thing about
the next day. That is exactly the thing. All right, let's switch gears before we look ahead to. Let's talk about someone that started at Round Rock for his first start with the Rangers, and that's Johnny Cueto.
Yeah, I actually tuned in a little bit last night. I got to watch some of that start. Looked really good. He's a 37-year-old guy. Same concept. Johnny Cueto used to be one of the top pitchers in the game. Cueto has some really, really filthy stuff, and he's 37, like I said, and he was bought for pennies. Brought onto this team. Was one of those guys. They were out on the market saying, we have to get somebody. We have no arms available. With all these injuries, and Johnny Cueto was available at the age of 37, and he's came in last night. He went 6 innings. I think he had 6 strikeouts, gave up 3 hits, only had 2 walks. Looked really, really sharp. His command was right on. He made a lot of the hitters look silly, and I think he's gone 18 innings this year. His ERA is hovering, I think, right above 2. So he looks really good. And one surprising one bit, Ben, if we see a call up sometime with Cueto, barring injuries, you don't know with this team right now. So what do you think about him?
Well, I think he's here for exactly what you said. He's insurance, because he's not a young dude. His ERA is 2.4. So he started 3 games so far, like you said, but 3.4, 2.4 ERA, that's pretty dang good. Yeah. And it's what you want to see someone like him do at AAA. Like AAA should be a breeze for him. He should not struggle at AAA. I remember a few years ago they tried. What was his name that was with Houston for a long time?
Oh, it was
Dallas Keuchel.
Yeah, Dallas Keuchel.
And he got lit up at Round Rock. If you're getting lit up at AAA, you're done. Your stuff.
Absolutely.
And if Cueto he has a 2.40 ERA. He's striking a lot of guys out. He's not walking a lot of people. He's doing what you want to see someone like him do. When you bought him for pennies on the dollar, he's doing what you want to see someone like him do. So, it was kind of like the philosophy. The way I look at it is for the Rangers. When they did acquire Cueto, it was one of those deals. They basically sat back and said, "What do we have to lose right now?" Exactly. We're signing a guy that's been an all-star. Been in the running for Cy Youngs and stuff like that. And they're like, "Hey, yeah." Regardless of his age, 37. You can't really, the Rangers can care less about age. Obviously, you look at Scherzer, you look at DeGrom. Yeah. They're not any young bucks by any means, and DeGrom isn't that old. But, they had nothing to lose at that point, and it's paying dividends right now in AAA because, if you do have a guy go down again,
there's a guy that you could bring up and eat some innings. You know, we talk about that a lot on this podcast, but that's a big key. You know, you don't want to use up that bullpen, especially the way they're pitching right now.
That's exactly true. And you want, eventually I think Heaney's going to be in the bullpen, possibly even John Gray. I don't know how they're going to end up working that. And they're not going to need as many bullpen on. But if Cueto can come up during this time where they're waiting on Scherzer and they're waiting on DeGrom and they're waiting on Gray and they're waiting on all these guys to come back, if he can come up and pitch 3.30 ERA, the Rangers will take that in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. And you've got, you also got Brock Burke coming back pretty soon. If he can keep his head, he's got to be more composed when, I understand the frustrations in the game, but Brock Burke, when he's on his game, it's just kind of like Hernandez, Brock Burke's a good pitcher. We know that. But Cueto, going back to Cueto, God forbid, it happens. I mean, we don't want no injuries to happen anymore to this team, but it's part of the game, and it more than likely will happen again. And I do see Cueto eventually coming up to the big league roster, and hopefully he can continue that success.
Yeah, like I said, he's doing what you want to see a guy like him do in AAA, and that's good to see. For the Rangers have hit on those before, and you just want to see him hit on it again right now. But eventually, those other guys are going to come back. So let's look ahead. The Rangers have 2 more against the Marlins. Without an epic comeback tonight, they're down 7-2. They're probably going to lose this game, but then they have 2 more against the Marlins. So the Rangers should take this series, Tyler.
Oh, absolutely, and. I don't know. I ain't going to say it anymore about these series, with these teams that are, and it's like going back to Jeff Wilson's newsletter. He was talking about, you play Detroit, but Detroit's playing good ball right now. They're on a winning streak, and it's baseball, Ben, as we know. It's one of those deals that it sucks to see this team, coming off a World Series championship, and you go into Colorado and completely get dominated, and then you go in and we're right now, down 7-2 against the Marlins, who have won 20 games, as you mentioned previously. I mean, come on, guys. You got to win these series. You've got to take the next 2. You want to come in with some momentum heading back home with Detroit and, gosh, I keep on forgetting the third team that we're facing.
It's the Giants.
The Giants.
Well, you've got to. Detroit again. We've already done good against them when they were on a hot streak before. The Rangers are finally. I think the Rangers have come out of that massive, bad losing streak they were in. Even if they don't win tonight, and then even if they, can win the next 2, I think they're back to regular winning every other game, winning a couple of games, as long as they can continue hovering and not go through another 7 or 8 game losing streak, especially not against the Florida Marlins, the Detroit Tigers, who, like you said, are actually playing good right now. But, if you look at the last 3 games for the Rangers going into tonight, they were also playing good right now. So baseball is a weird thing. You're only as good as your next day starter, and today didn't go real well starter wise. So they had to lean on a bullpen that doesn't do well when it has to be leaned on.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's another thing, we're fortunate this year, as, the struggles we have, we're 3 games, we're on if we're losing tonight, we'll be 3 games under 500.
Correct. Yeah.
But if you look at it, we're fortunate to be in the division we're in this year because everybody's struggling in that division. Yes, Seattle, they've got a 3-game lead, but any team in baseball right now playing in second place, if they were only 3 games back, they'd say, I would take it, a third of the way into the season. Yep. And we have so many games left against our division, so many games against the Mariners. That's what it's going to boil down to this season, bottom line. But we still got to take care of business against these teams that are, and if we get hot, because as you know, Ben, the AL West, any AL West game is tough, regardless if you're playing Oakland, Anaheim, it does not matter. So,
yep, you are exactly.
It'll all pan out at the end.
All right, so once the Rangers get rid of that, they'll play San Francisco over the weekend, then they go on the road again. So we'll talk about that on the next podcast, though. So anyway, the Rangers have not been, not been terrible the last few games, and I have faith that they've come out of that terrible losing streak. And I think that, again, I think they'll win this series. I think they'll take the next 2. I think they'll win the series against Detroit, and I think they'll win the series against San Francisco. But I don't think they're going to sweep any of them. I think they'll lose at least 1 game because it's just amazing with the pitching they've had, how well they've done anyway. The games they've lost, most of them have not been starting pitching that cost them the games. It's been the lack of offense, errors, and the bullpen that have cost them games. So if the Rangers starting pitching can keep going and the bullpen and offense can get it together at all, which it looks like they have, I think this team is going to be just fine. And if we're still at 500 at the All-Star break, I still think we're going to be just fine, Tyler.
Yeah, I like your attitude, man. I'm such a pessimist about this team, and
Yeah.
I really am. I'm so hard on myself about it, and I'm like, but I was thinking about what you said. It was a couple podcasts ago, and we got off the podcast, and I was sitting there laying in bed, and I was kind of replaying the podcast, and I was like, Ben's so positive, and he had such a good attitude, and you made a really good point about like I said a couple podcasts ago, and you were talking about if you would have told me this team would be right around 500 with all the injuries. And you were talking about all these injuries. And at first I was like, this team should be better. When DeGrom or when Scherzer was trying to come back and he didn't, had these other issues going on, I still was like, one to believe this team should be way better than what they were. But looking what you said, all these injuries and stuff, we're so fortunate to have a team that's still hovering right above 500 at this point, and we're not even near healthy. And that's a scary thing to think about.
Yeah, when Josh Jung comes back, this offense gets better immediately.
Oh, absolutely.
If Evan Carter comes back healthy and swinging and, able to be patient at the plate and hitting those pitches again, you get those two guys back in the lineup the way they played in the postseason, you're a completely different offense.
Yeah, I think Josh Jung is a key cog in this lineup, honestly. I think he gets the ball rolling. I mean, of course, you have Seager and Semien at the top, but Josh Jung, what he brings to it just seems like when he's in the lineup, everybody is so much better. And you're talking about a guy that's only been in the league 3-4 years, and it's absolutely incredible. And it's going to be good to see Josh Jung in that lineup. And everybody's talking right now, basically it's been the story of the Rangers all year about the offensive struggles.
Yeah.
But wait and see when Josh Jung gets placed back in that lineup and when he is fully healthy, knock on wood, this team will start rolling again. And we're going to be sitting here, people, and I'm going to guarantee it like Charles Barkley right now. We're going to be on a podcast, one of the podcasts in the next month or month and a half, and we're going to say, can you believe we've won 8 or 9 or 10 games in a row? Because it is coming.
Yep, it is. And you think if he comes back and then if you have at the same time, if you have a hot Seager, Adolis, and Josh Jung, there's no break in that lineup for those guys to pitch.
And think about all the pressure.
You got Semien getting on base. You've got, Carter hitting good. You got Adolis smashing balls. You got Josh Jung smashing balls. You got Corey Seager smashing balls. I mean, there's no break in that lineup. Then you've got the weak hitters in Nathaniel Lowe and Jonah Heim, who can hit a home run in pretty much any at bat or drive it to the opposite field, And then you've got Leote, who, who knows where he's going to be hitting. CJ is not on, but he wanted us to mention that he thinks Leote is going to be batting third soon, like regularly. And if Evan Carter doesn't come back, that might happen. But I really think the Rangers value his speed down at the bottom of the lineup.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, Bochy right now, he's tinkering with that lineup quite a bit. He's using Josh Smith in that 3-hole, and he's had Tavares seldomly play in the 3 spot. From what CJ's saying, I think he wants him, maybe possibly being in the 3rd permanently. We'll have to see. I personally agree with you, Ben. I like Tavares having that speed at the bottom of the lineup, getting on base and having guys like Semien and Seager coming up, having these guys that can drive in runs, come to the plate. It all kind of depends, what Josh Smith does in that 3 spot. But once you have Josh Jung, all that's going to change. That whole lineup's going to look completely different anyway.
And it also depends on how Langford's hitting the ball. If he gets hot,
right.
You got to have him somewhere up there too. So it's just the Rangers. If everybody on that team gets hot, they are unbeatable.
Mm-hmm.
If everyone on that offense gets hot, like they were in the postseason last year. At any moment, anyone can smash a 3-run home run to change the game, or anyone can smash an opposite field double to score 2. I mean, that's what they did in the playoffs. They took advantage of where the pitches were, because you don't have anyone on this team that's a pure only pull hitter. These guys can spray it all over the field. And that's, if they get back to that again and get these guys hot, watch out MLB, because they're going to be tough to stop again.
Kind of shows you how spoiled we were last year, Ben. Watching it, 1 through 9. I mean, we sit there and, for us as fans to get back to, sit there and watch them. Man, you're blinding me, Ben. You're blinding me. No, it just shows you how spoiled we got. If you, think about it, because it came to a point, I know, especially, for me, there'll be games where I turn it on and I expected to click the remote on to a Ranger game and them to be up, 7-1, 7-2.
Yeah.
And I expect them to already have 6-7 runs. This year, you turn on a game and you're hoping they can get to 3, 4, or 5 runs. Yeah. And like you said, though, if that gets going again and that starts clicking, this team, watch out, MLB, because
Yep.
and MLB, if you didn't recognize it from last year, you're a bunch of idiots, fans. I mean, seriously, because this team, they're the exact same team, really, except for the bats haven't came alive yet. And it's still early. It's still early. It doesn't seem like that, but it is time now to start talking about, you got to start getting more serious now. I mean, you're a third of the way into the season, so it's getting there.
And I will say that the one disappointment is Andrew Kisner is no Mitch Garver. He's not. He is not. No. He's not doing well at all. So
no,
he's not getting any at bats, and that's not easy to do. But Garver played his way into the lineup, and Kisner right now is just not doing that.
Yeah, and I haven't really paid attention much to Seattle other than the standings. I don't know what Garver's doing in Seattle.
I don't either, but he was pivotal to the World Series last year.
Oh, he was. He was a big part of it, and this team is they are the same team, but they're different in so many aspects if you really think about it. And another thing is we got hit by the injury bug last year, but not near as hard, not even near as hard. We're only a third of the way through, like I said. And this team is just, I know there's not been another major league team this whole season that's had as many injuries as we've had.
No, well, and of course the biggest one this week was Atlanta, with Ronald Acuna going down. That to me is, I mean, you want everyone to be at their best, and when you win a World Series, you want to beat a team at their best. And I don't like seeing anyone go down, especially not someone. He's so fun to watch, like his ability to steal bases, how good he is at the plate, how good he plays in the field. So to me, it's just sad to see somebody like him go down for the season.
Yeah, it's one of those things, with Acuna, that's what people pay a lot of people don't follow baseball just to follow baseball. They follow for the players, and that's the people you would pay a ticket to go watch and see is Ronald Acuna. Yep. The guy is absolutely fun to watch. I mean, just even walking and watching him steal on the base pass. I could watch that guy fly around the base pass all day, just stealing bases, everything he brings to the game. He's a fun guy. Yep. He has fun out there. He brings a lot of joy to the game. Yeah. And he's going to be missed. I'm not a Braves fan by any means. Sucks especially for me because I had the Atlanta Braves as the preseason World Series champions.
You did, yep.
And so now they lost Spencer Strider to begin the season, and they've now lost Acuna, one of the best, if not the best player in baseball, in Ronald Acuna.
Yeah, so speedy recovery to him. We hope he gets well quicker than expected and can get back and play, because it sucks to see anyone go down like that. I hate to see Mike Trout go down every year, but I think his body's just so beat up. I don't think he'll ever make it through a full season again, but that dude was fun to watch in his prime, even though he was against us.
I know. Yeah, he's one of those guys. And I'll say this, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Mike Trout is honestly one of my favorite players of all time.
He's fantastic.
Just the way he, has played the game. He just plays it the right way. You never got to worry about that guy getting in trouble. You never got to. He does so much for the community. I read a really good article about him and his wife, what they do, and and I know a lot of baseball players, a lot of athletes do this stuff, but just the amount of time he spends with the community, and he flat out. I think he's to the point in his career, of course, every player wants to, win a championship. Yeah. But he's so committed and so loyal to that fan base and that community that he's to the point where, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. And you got to tip your hat to the guy. Most players would have been like, man, I'm getting out of here. I'm demanding a trade. I'm going to go to a winning ball club where I know I have at least a solid chance at getting a ring. Yeah. But he's not that type of guy. He's that type of guy that's going to be loyal. Kind of reminds you of a guy like Jason Witten for the Dallas Cowboys. Or Michael
Jung for the Rangers, the guy that's
Michael Jung. Very good point.
Team leader and knows he's not going to win, wants to stay there, and then he almost, of course, Jung got closer to winning than Trout did. So,
right.
Jung at least played in 2 World Series.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right, cool. Well, this has been a great show. We missed CJ, but Tyler, I think I'm not going to pat ourselves on the back, but I think we did an awesome job.
I'll pat myself.
All right, I will too. Hold on.
We go.
Wait,
hold on. You got to do it with it.
I patted myself with the wrong hand. Let me pat myself.
Your arm's gonna fall off, Ben.
Dude, that thing is heavy. I'm telling you that right now, man. And that's my surgery arm, so I got to be careful. Pat myself on the back with that one. So
yeah, you better be careful.
For those wondering, I'm recovering just fine. They think they got it all out, so I think everything will be fine. The surgery is just now. I can just wear a Band-Aid over it, so it's just a little hole in my arm. I'm going to tell all the kids when school starts next year I got shot, so that'll be fun.
You got shot still? You should tell the kids you got shots. Yeah, you got shot stealing Corey Seager's ring when you were in the locker room.
I like it. That's what I'm going to tell him. But anyway, all right. This has been the Ranger Report podcast. We will be back on our regular schedule next week. We just couldn't work out last night to get it done because, well, all of us had major thunderstorms with power outages going on and all kind of stuff. So we decided to push it back to tonight. But anyway, Tyler, thanks, man.
Thank you, brother.
And for CJ, let's
drop the deuces.
Drop the deuces.
Miss you, CJ.
Thanks for listening to the Ranger Report podcast. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, and at therangerreport.com.